Hey, this is Pradeep with Sensatura. Today I thought of sharing my impressions on a few fragrances that I've been sampling in the last few months. There is just this one bottle, the rest are samples. If this seems to be useful or interesting to some people, I might continue doing more impressions out of the huge pile of samples I have. On that topic, if you're new here, I don't always go out and blind buy new releases just because they are marginally interesting or simply to have a bottle for a video. I like to sample before going for a full bottle, except in very rare circumstances. It's just surprising to see the increase in the amount of blind buys these days, that too with $500 plus fragrances. At the end of the day, that's up to each individual. Personally, I don't do it myself to just have it as part of the quote-unquote collection. I like to really wear my fragrances, particularly giving enough attention to each one so I get to know the fragrance, the story, form memories and so forth. That's another reason I still do the outdated standalone reviews and impressions and so forth. For today, there are 11 fragrances in total. I will leave the names in the description. 6 samples I liked, including some new releases like the latest from Bogue Profumo, and 4 other samples I've come to the conclusion that they are not for me. So let's get on with the list in no particular order. First one is Mugler Cologne 2025. I got this 100 ml from a discounter for 30 euros. Of course, it's not a brand new fragrance. It first came out in 2001 at the turn of the century. Then maybe before 2020, it was slightly tweaked and released as Come Together. And now it has been re-released as Mugler Cologne. I used to own a bottle of the initial release, but never repurchased as I had other eau de colognes. Then this one came up for very cheap, so I got it. I was skeptical about how it's going to be because designer fragrances in 2025 under L'Oreal is not something that excites me. Their aim and releases have been really dull. Surprisingly, this one is nicely done. I'm not able to compare it with the older formulation as I don't have it. As for the scent, it is a traditional green-tinged cologne with a sci-fi, futuristic Mugler twist given by the dominant use of modern masks. There's Bergamot, Petitgrain, Neroli, and a lot of white masks. Not sure if it is still Alberto Maria's. There is also no mention of the infamous S note this time around. It's fresh, it's clean, just perfect for the heat. I got to spend some time in Geneva this summer. This Arancia Rosa and a decant of Alp Swiss from Tower are the 3 fragrances I took with me. I have already put a big dent on it, as you can see. The pricing has gone up at retail. It's now 85 euros for 100 ml, and that seems to be the only size. But where I live, it seemed to have been released directly on the discounters, so I'm happy with what I paid. Alright, before going to the samples, I thought I would show this mini of 1921 Extrait from Maison Spoturno. I did an overview of this brand some weeks ago. In that video, I mentioned how this and Barbie Kaja are my favorites. I ended up getting Barbie Kaja, it's an eau de parfum, but this is more than 500 euros for 60 ml. So obviously I'm not going that far. Then a friend who bought this was going for a full bottle, so I swapped a mini of Guerlain Derby for this. This is a 6 ml edition called Voyage. If you just want the perfume, you are better off getting just 3 2 ml samples, as this is 150 euros because of the presentation. This was initially a limited release in 2021 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Emerald from Coty. The unfortunate thing is, they can't even say that because the Spoturno brand, founded by the great-granddaughter of François Coty, does not even have the copyright of the brand name of Coty. In terms of scent, this is a divine oriental amber composed by Christopher Sheldrake. It's got this humongous bergamot opening. Obviously it has hints of Shalimar. Add to that the classic floral bouquet, lots of leathery vanilla, fougerish tonka, spices, all settling on this patchouli sandalwood base with just enough animalics to growl. It just wears beautifully on skin. I kept it on the table after opening it, and it scented this whole side of the room for a week. Simply phenomenal. Now starting off with the samples, the first one is the latest release from Bogue Profumo after a while. This is a 2025 release simply called Comme. I was really looking forward to this. I'm a big fan of Antonio Gardoni's work. I really enjoy My and Mem, particularly Mem, which is an all-time favorite. It was also in my list of the best perfumes of the quarter century. Coming back, this comes across to me as a throwback to his earlier masterful creations. In that it's complex, it's resinous, rich and dense. It's loaded with naturals. In terms of scent, it seems to explore different shades of green while being enveloped in this boundary of smoky, leathery richness. Initially I get this green, resinous, almost balmy, smoky, medicinal, borderline leathery smell. It's very abstract as usual. There's a thread of musky, animalic quality, which is a recurring theme. I can sense some of the florals, maybe some honeyed sweetness, dry fruits, tobacco and patchouli. But it feels ceremonial, as if you're just adding all these things to some sort of a ritualistic fire, and everything is obscured by the smoke, ash, incense and whatnot. The cade oil and the smoky, woody notes really drive this point home. It's really fascinating. Some of his later creations seem to be a little more on the conceptual side and didn't always work for me, but this seems much more focused and more so on the traditional side with the smoky scent profile. He seemed to have omitted piney, cypress, cedar notes, which is kind of a cliche at this point when it comes to smoky scents. So extra credit for that. I like it quite a bit. I just need to spend some more time with it as it cools down during fall to see if I really need a bottle. Next is Bergamot 22 from Labo. I have not smelled this in a long time, so I was a little surprised at how good this smells. Firstly, in this case it actually smells like a bergamot fragrance as opposed to some other fragrance namings from the brand. It's got a fairly classical bergamot note, very fresh, bright and uplifting. It's got the different sides you would expect from a good bergamot. The floral side, the green herbal side, and this sort of tea-like undertone. The orange blossom and petitgrain help to accentuate the aromatic nuances. The dry down is the modern, somewhat industrial, urban, cedarwood smell that Labo fragrances have. I'm still not sure about a bottle as it's not cheap, but I really like the smell. Okay, so I've been very positive so far. Let's do a few which did not work for me. This is Mxxx from Aries Perfumes. This is supposedly a limited edition Extrait de Parfum release and kind of a flanker to MX. I was looking forward to this because it's composed by Antoine Lee and the materials are from La Bistro de la Beauté, which is run by the same people as Les Indémodables. I paid quite a chunk of change to get a sample of this from Sens Unique. Just listen to these notes. Madagascan blue ginger, maize, CO2 extraction, saffron, Ethiopian olibanum, pink pepper, Trinidad cacao, ultrasound extraction, which is in Beni Avan by the way, Virginia cedarwood, sandalwood, Haitian vetiver, Indonesian patchouli, Laotian benzoin, castoreum, 7% natural ambergris, Pierre d'Afrique or Hyraceum, and Madagascan green vanilla ultrasound extraction. I mean, there is no way this isn't going to be good, right? And then I sprayed it. It was so faint, so dull, I could barely smell much of it, frankly. What I get is this sweet cacao with some dusty coconut husk smell, maybe some thin shades of woods and resins. I don't really smell much at all when wearing it. It's very calm. It's even gone in a couple of hours max. I've come back to it after months and it's still the same. I seriously don't know what happened with the materials on the composition here. Why is it an Extrait for over 200 euros for 50 ml? It has to be easily one of the most disappointing things I have smelled in the last few years. After that is Rose Star from Dior Privé, composed by Francis Gogjean. I did a dedicated impressions video on this a few weeks ago. Since then, I've been testing it a few more times. Now I like it even less. It just smells like a musky cologne version of a stereotypical Middle Eastern honeyed rose scent. They would have been better off creating a cologne line like Les Eaux de Chanel on releasing these fragrances there. They kind of tried with their cruise collection with scents like Escala Portofino, which probably no one remembers or even knows about. Maybe reserve the Privé line for truly special creations. Take your time, don't rush these releases for such a high price. But it seems like Dior is losing its way at the moment. I am still waiting to see if I would ever end up buying a fragrance created under their current perfume artistic director. Next one, I kind of like the concept but don't think it works as a fragrance. From 2024, this is Odeur 10 from Comme des Garçons. This is based on the idea of hydrogen peroxide. In terms of scent, it's an aldehydic green laundry mask. There is some fresh, brisk, minty attributes to it initially, but it dries down to literally smelling like a hospital bed, including the green sheets, the disinfectants, the metallic smell, and the entire package. It's very creative that they have gone ahead and done something like this, but sometimes Comme des Garçons fragrances work better as concepts, and this is one of them. Next is a fragrance from Andy Tower. The brand is celebrating 20 years, so they have been doing a lot, including some rare first batch of L'air du dessert marocain. I have seen quite a few people assuming it to be his first fragrance, even though it says number 2 on the bottle. Maybe there is some Mandela effect happening there. His actual first fragrance, number 1, is Le Maroc pour Elle. A few weeks ago, they released something called Shadid, which was a limited release. It turned out to be a disappointment for me. So I thought I would go back to his older releases and pulled out this old sample. This smells very much like the beginning of the brand's DNA. It has that oriental amber signature with a hint of that petrochemical-like smell, only sweeter and more balsamic. Add to that a prominent, old-fashioned endolic jasmine, and you have this. It's not dry or airy like his later creations, more of a balsamic floral. This is what he started selling in some bookshops in Zurich before LDDM did the rest. Let's do one more, which I did not care for, before finishing off with some good ones. This is just a free sample I got with the purchase from Bois. It's called Voyage à Paris from Fragrance du Bois. Now, I'm not a fan of this brand. The only one I didn't mind was Sahara. Still, this name sounded nice, so I sprayed it out of curiosity. And I must say it is one of the most repulsive things that I have smelled in recent times. It is this blast of sugary, saccharine-like, juvenile cloud of sweetness. I don't even get much of anything else. Maybe some faint hint of synthetic floral notes. But it's mostly this physical reaction inducing, entering some sort of candy cane storage facility, that sort of sweet cloud. It really made me sit up and contemplate the state of some of these modern releases. Why is this considered luxury and why is this 350 euros? It just doesn't add up. If this is supposed to represent an interpretation of trip to Paris, then I would rather not go there. Alright, let's go to a couple of good ones. Next is Mauna from Mediterrosa. It's an Italian brand that I have been testing for some time. They have some crazy creative bottle designs, I must say. This one caught my attention because it is Indian inspired. The word Mauna is from Sanskrit, meaning the state of stillness. And as expected, it is a tranquil smell based on sandalwood. Most of them, with it being the central note, just don't do it for me because they smell so unconvincing. This is definitely one of the better ones that I've come across in recent times. It is this creamy, borderline lactonic, smooth take on sandalwood. Of course, it has been done before, several times in fact. But here it seems to have none of the abrasive, sharp edges. Plus, it is mostly about the sandalwood, with none of the overload of spices, wood and things like that. To match the name, I find it to be a warm, comforting, calming smell. I think I will spend more time with it to see if I need a bottle. I might just come back to it when I eventually do a brand overview. Last one, I'm almost positive will be a bottle at some point. This is Un Bel Amour d'été from Parfum d'Empire. That name itself is just so romantic and nostalgic. It is this lush, solar floral bouquet with some woody nuances. Has this fleshy, voluptuous floral heart with gardenia, tuberose, and other florals. There's a carnal side to it from the spicy cumin and a hint of turmeric. It certainly feels like the smell of tanned, lotioned skin at the beach under the sun. A memory from long ago. Just so beautiful. I first tried this when it was released last fall, I think. I liked it then, but it really seems to have come alive when wearing it this summer, just letting it become a part of your smell. I was starting to think it would be nice if Marc-Antoine Cocteau switched things up from his regular agrestic signature, and he delivered with this one. He has been very consistent, which is a quality I admire. That's why, maybe leaving aside some of the Hall of Fame brands like Lutens and Frederic Malle, this might as well be my favorite active niche brand. He's coming up with a vanilla fragrance next. I'm assuming it won't be trendy. Looking forward to smelling it. So there you have it, impressions of some fragrances that I have been sampling. And as always, thanks for watching, take care and ciao.